Hey, welcome. Today, we're jumping into a really powerful story from the book of Exodus. It's all about desperation, doubt, and a miracle you just have to see to believe. It's a story that starts with physical thirst, but, trust me, it reveals something so much deeper about our spiritual lives.
So let's start right here, with the key verse from Exodus 17:6 that really sets the whole scene. This is the big moment. God gives a command that sounds, well, impossible, but it holds the promise of life itself. Just try to picture it, a barren rock, Moses' staff, and this incredible promise of water.
Now, before we get lost in the desert with the Israelites, let's make this personal for a second. Have you ever felt just completely drained? You know that feeling like you are running on absolute empty? That sense of having nothing left to give? Spiritually, emotionally, whatever. That's right at the heart of this story we're getting into.
Okay, so let's set the stage. To really feel the weight of this moment, you've got to picture where they are. The people of Israel are stuck in the wilderness. I'm talking endless sand, a blazing sun, and just this rocky, barren landscape for miles. They are totally exposed, vulnerable, and they're facing a genuine life-or-death crisis.
Yeah, this was way more than just being a little thirsty. This was a full-on survival situation. And that physical need, it pretty quickly started to expose some deeper spiritual problems. You can almost feel the panic just bubbling up, and that panic turned into fear, the fear soured into doubt, and pretty soon that doubt just exploded into bitter complaints against Moses and even against God himself. They were literally asking if God brought them out there just to die.
Now this next part is so important because it shows us something amazing about God's character. He doesn't wait for them to get their act together and have perfect faith, because, let's be honest, they had none left. Instead, he responds directly to their messy, desperate, complaining need.
And this right here just perfectly shows the huge contrast in this story. On one side, you've got the people's faith. It is all over the place. It's wavering, they're complaining, they're doubting. And on the other side, you have God's faithfulness, which is the complete opposite. It's unchanging, it's patient, and it is always providing.
So here's the thing to really grab onto. That water from the rock wasn't some reward for good behavior. It wasn't because their faith was so strong. No way. It was a gift of pure mercy, flowing straight from God's faithful character. His help wasn't something they earned. It was given freely, simply because of who he is.
But hang on, the story doesn't just end there in the desert. The Bible does this incredible thing where it uses real historical events to point to even bigger spiritual truths. And this rock in the wilderness, well, it's a whole lot more than just a rock. To really get this deeper meaning, we need to understand a concept called typology. It's basically the idea that God uses people, events, even objects in the Old Testament to foreshadow something way bigger in the New Testament. You can think of it like a movie trailer for a coming attraction, and that main attraction is almost always Jesus Christ.
And this isn't just a theory. The Apostle Paul connects the dots for us. In 1 Corinthians, he says that the people drank from a spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. You see, Jesus is the ultimate rock. He was struck on the cross for us so that we could receive what he calls living water, that eternal, spiritual life that satisfies our deepest thirst in a way nothing else can.
And this helps us draw a really powerful comparison for our own lives, right? We all have this deep thirst for meaning and peace, and we try to quench it at all these worldly wells, chasing success, seeking comfort, getting lost in distractions. But those wells, they always leave us thirsty again. In total contrast, Christ the Rock offers living water, which gives lasting life, true forgiveness, and a deep peace that the world just can't offer.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us, right here, right now? Especially if you're a student navigating all the pressure of exams, feeling anxious about the future, or asking those huge questions about your purpose. How do we actually drink this living water?
Let's get really practical, focusing first on God's faithfulness. First, try to catch those worries early on and bring them to God before they spiral into complaints. Second, make a real effort to remember the times He's been faithful in your past. Third, choose to trust His solid character, not your shifting feelings. And fourth, just actively thank Him for being so patient with all our doubts and fears.
And building on that, here are 4 more things we can do, this time focused on Christ as our rock. First, when you get that running on empty feeling, consciously turn to Him. Second, let the Bible actually refresh your soul. Third, try to make depending on Jesus a daily thing, not just a last resort. And finally, when you experience this for yourself, look for ways to point other people to the source.
So let's pull all of this together.
We've walked through the story, we've unpacked its incredible meaning, and we've looked at how we can live it out. Let's wrap up by turning the heart of this message into a prayer and holding tight to its core promise.
You know, this prayer really just captures it all perfectly. It's an honest admission of our own weakness, it's a heartfelt thank you for His provision that never fails, and it's a simple request to be drawn back to the only one who can truly satisfy our souls, Christ, our rock.
If there is just one single idea to take away from all this, let it be these three powerful words. Not that Christ might satisfy us, or can satisfy us, but that He does. Period. This is the central truth that flows from that rock in the desert all those years ago, straight into our lives today.
And so I'll just leave you with this final thought to carry with you. This isn't just some old story. It is an invitation for you today. In the middle of all your deadlines, your questions, and your stresses, how will you choose to turn to the living water for real refreshment this week?